Let's get straight to it. 2015 Honda Civic. This is the 1.8 liter engine. So today we are changing the AC compressor. This is what your compressor should look like for this vehicle. You have your ports for your lines right here on top and here on top. And this is what your harness should look like. So when you're looking for this part, you come from the top and you can see that pulley down there underneath the alternator. That right there is your AC compressor right underneath the alternator. And you can see from the new part where the bolts are to remove this. So there's two bolts on top here, one on the bottom and one on the bottom corner right down here. So the belt on here is already broken because the pulley on the compressor is bad. So we're going to have to do this without removing the belt. But I will show you how to do the belt at the end when I'm putting the new belt on. So this is the tensioner right here, just so you know, in case you need to get your belt off. That's the tensioner for it right there. So you get a socket or a wrench on there and you turn it counterclockwise, and that should loosen your belt and you should be able to get your belt off of here. So the first step is to disconnect the negative battery terminal. And set that off to the side. So unfortunately, the alternator has to be removed to do this job. So we're going to start by unplugging everything. So there's your harness plug for it and your hot wire. We need to remove those. And this one here, this is the plug for the AC compressor. So we can unplug this here and then undo this tab here as well. All right, so I got the wiring up and I moved it to the back and out of the way. So we still have to deal with this one. So there's a 10mm bolt here to get this out of here, and then remove that tab there. And there's another tab right here. All right, so there's a bolt right here to be removed. That is a 13mm. And there's a bolt on the bottom as well that needs to be removed. So there's a bolt right there on the bottom, right next to the tensioner. You can see the tensioner right there, the black, and then this is the bolt right here that needs to be removed first. Okay, I have both these bolts out. I should be able to pull this alternator up now. All right, so the alternator is loose. Let's go ahead and pull that out. Okay, so you can see the alternator. This is what it looks like here once we get it out. So you have to remove this bracket here and put it on the new alternator, or you can put it on after you reinstall it, but you need to put this back on the new one. All right, with the alternator removed, now we can clearly see the AC compressor down there, but there is one more thing that we need to move out of the way, and that's this tensioner here. This tensioner is connected to this bracket right here. So in order to remove it, one, you're going to have to disconnect this tensioner here from this bracket. But this is a 12mm, and then there's two more. There's a bolt here, and there's a bolt down here. So if we remove those three bolts, 1, 2, 3, then this piece here should remove, and then we'll be able to really see the AC compressor and get it out and straight up. All right, so remember that there are two top bolts, one here and one here, one bottom bolt all the way down there, and one in the bottom corner. So that's the 4 bolts to be removed. But before we do that, we have to remove our refrigerant lines. So you can see that's a 10mm. You're going to need a deep socket to remove that nut. And there's a 10mm on this one here. This one won't be a deep socket. It's just a regular bolt head. But before you remove the refrigerant lines, make sure you have the refrigerant evacuated, either professionally or hopefully if you're replacing this, maybe the system is already empty. We already know that on this vehicle, the system is empty. So I'm going to go ahead and start to remove these 2 lines. Okay, So we're officially getting ready to remove this AC compressor. So since the lines are off, the only thing need to be removed now are those 4 bolts holding it on. So remember, there's 2 here on top. That's these 2 right here. Then there's 1 all the way at the very bottom down here. And then there's 1 on the back side right down here. All right, so this AC compressor is all the way loose now, guys. So you can reach down there, see it's moving, and just turn it the way where we can get it straight up here, just like that. And just like that, the AC compressor is out. All right, so here is the fun part. Before we install this new compressor, we have to fill it with PAG oil. So we're going to remove these 2 10 millimeters here and remove these 2 cover plates so that we can get filling. Okay, so now that I have those cover plates off, I have a measuring cup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour all of the oil out of this compressor into this cup so I can see how much oil is in there, because I want about maybe 5 ounces of PAG oil in here, because this is an 8-ounce system, and I'm going to assume there's about 3 ounces still left when you count the condenser and all the other parts. So I want to put about between 4 to 5 ounces myself in here. So I'm going to pour out what's in here and see what we have. So when you're draining this in here, it's also good to turn the pulley, and it can help you get some of this out. We barely have 4 ounces in there. So I'm going to add my own PAG oil to this until we get to that 4. All right, so we're like right a little bit above the 4, which is okay because we want it between 4 and 5 anyways. So this should be enough PAG oil to pour into this AC compressor. So when you pour it in, you want to pour it into this big part in the middle, not the little part right there, because you want it to go right into the body and lubricate everything. So you can use a funnel for this. I'm just going to use this little spout right here, and I'm going to start to pour this all in here. Okay, so I have my 4 ounces of PAG oil in here, and I put the cover plates back on there, so while I'm installing this, the oil doesn't come back out. Because of how this sits upright, I can easily get these 10 millimeter bolts and these cover plates off once I get this compressor in all the way. So I'm going to leave the cover plates on so that I don't lose any PAG oil. So now I'm going to start to put my new compressor in place. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 2 top bolts started first into here, and I'm not going to tighten it all the way down. I'm just going to have them maybe like halfway, and then I'll get the 2 bottom bolts in. Then I'll come back and tighten the top bolts. Okay, success. All 4 of my bolts are in, the 2 right here on top and the 2 on the bottom. So now we can go ahead and remove these cover plates again, because we already have our PAG oil in there, and then we can put our lines back on. So we have this line here for there, and I can bring this line back down now, because this line goes right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get both of those lines back on. And if your compressor came with new O-rings, this would be a good time to replace those as well. Almost forgot this part. So there is one more part that we need from the old compressor, and it's this stud here. You're going to need an E6 reverse Torx bit like this one here to get that off. So it goes on the outside, and then you can just easily get that out, and then you put it into the new one the same exact way. So I got it down in there, so I'm going to use my bit to turn it all the way in until it's tight, and then once it's all the way in, then you can put your nut on there to hold this one down. And this one here is already secured by the regular bolt. All right, so now that all those are on, it's time to get our bracket back that goes right here. So remember, this bracket here, it goes in like this. You put this bolt in first, and then you tighten that bolt, and then we can put a And then we put the tensioner piece here that goes back in this hole. Okay, so that bracket is back in. We got the bolt for the tensioner on and the 2 bolts that holds the bracket up. So now that the bracket is on here, let's go ahead and get the alternator back in so I can show you folks how that's done. So this hole right here and this hole right here is where the bolts go. So let's go ahead and get that alternator in. So clearly I'm just putting the old alternator in because this one was never bad. The only reason I had to remove this was because I had to do that AC compressor down there. So I figured it's a good chance to show you guys how to remove this alternator. So we're putting the old one back in because it's still good. So the steps of doing that would be the same as if this was brand new, except for you remove this bracket and put this bracket on your new alternator either first, or you can do this after you get it in. So we're gonna go ahead and get this in now. All right, so I ran this wire up and I pushed these tabs into the back of the alternator for the new compressor. And now I can run all of these. So I can connect my harness back to here, and I can put my hot wire back on here, and then my alternator plug goes back on there. Okay, so we have all of our connections back on. The only thing to do now is to install our belt. Okay, so my belt is back on, and again, this is the tensioner for it here. Once you move that counterclockwise, I'm gonna actually show you how I did it. So I used a 19mm wrench and went straight down there, and I used the open end to get on there better. And now I have enough leverage, and I have reach from here to here to get that out. And if this is hard to turn, you can use something like a wrench extender, or try using the other end and double wrenching it, and that might help you turn that as well. But you can see how this belt is routed. It goes from the alternator all the way down to the AC compressor, back up over this water pump here, this water pump pulley, then down around the crank and up and over this pulley above the crank. Then it comes over here to this pulley on this side. And from this side, it goes all the way across to the alternator. So that is technically it, guys. Our AC compressor is installed.